So this is the FiLMiC app, which we are going to take a look at. It's basically a professional videographer's way to make film on iPhone. It's a good jump if you're going from your standard iPhone camera and you still want to do some recording on your iPhone, but don't want to jump to a DSLR or a video camera, then this is a very happy medium. So this app costs $15 US plus 13 for the cinematography kit. And we'll just get right into it. So this is what you see when you first open up the app. On your right is your mic levels, which is great because you can see when you're clipping. So if you get really close, and there you go, you can see your clipping. You can see your clipping there as soon as you get closer to the mic. And your decibel level. Now this is landscape mode. So the circle and the square, these two things, this is your exposure that you can adjust when you move it. And this is your focus. Now you can lock it by clicking it and it goes red. And now you have locked it. Now next you've got your bottom right is how you film. You click it to record and it starts filming. Then you have your play button, which will, if you save it onto the app, I prefer to just save it straight to the camera roll. Looking into the settings, you've got, so these are all your settings that you can change. You've got resolution, which you can do 1080, 720, which is the lowest. Then you go to 2K and 3K, and then 4K. Now the great thing about this is that the iPhone app, the stock app, only has 720, 1080, and 4K. So if you are keen to go to 2K or 3K, that option is there, as well as different 17:9, different aspect ratios, or 2.391 if you want a bit more cinematic, which is great because you can't do that on the iPhone either. And then you can choose if you want the high efficiency codec. Then you can also change your frame rate, which on the stock app, you've got 30 and 60, and then obviously slow-mo goes 120 and 240. But if you do want more cinematic videos, you've got 24 as well, which is a great option to have. And you can choose capture playback and obviously the frames per second, or you want auto shutter. 50 Hertz shutter or a 60 Hertz shutter. I'm just going to put all back to 24. Here is your audio, which lets you decide if you want the iPhone mic. I'm recording on the external mic right now, so it's not going to pop up on here, but you can choose whether the front or the back, and PCM, that's basically the format. And the amount of kilohertz. Also allows you to use a Bluetooth mic. If you are walking around and want to use one and have one that works, then that works as well. Let's go back. To go back, you just click anywhere on the screen. Device, save to camera roll. That's what I do, as opposed to saving it to the app. It's just a few settings that you know, if you want to lock the orientation, preview, and so on. Presets. Presets are great. I haven't saved any so far because I haven't decided which ones I prefer, but I could have here, for example, I could save the current one and I'll call it 1080 at 24 FPS. And so there you go, I've got 1080 at 24 saved. And I could have another one as 4K at 60 and save that as well as a separate preset. Cms Content Management, whether you want it on or off, it basically allows you to put some times and takes and scenes, and then time code track if you want that as well, but I don't need it. Hardware, clean HDMI out, Osmo, so gimbals. If you have any of these gimbals or adapters, you can put them on and actually use the buttons on them quite easily. Sync, FiLMiC Sync, that's just if you want the cloud storage. The First Light is their editing app. Stabilization is basically just an on and off. Always have it on because it doesn't make any difference except make your videos way more stable. It zooms a little bit out if you take it off. Stabilization, as you can see in the top left, the window is a little bit further in, and if you click stabilization, it sort of cuts it off a tiny bit, but it is worth it. Camera, this changes which camera you're using. The wide, although the wide and the tele, okay, so that's your tele camera, obviously you can see it goes in. Let's go back to camera. Now we got wide over here and zoom are basically the same thing. Doesn't really make a difference, so it would be good if that could And double take allows you to record the front and the back at the same time, but you need to download another FiLMiC app for that. So that'll just take you to the App Store. Torch, low, medium, high, if you want your torch on. I'll have mine off. And guide if you want the grid there, which I don't really need. So there are your settings. Now we move over, down the bottom is your time and your battery and your frame rate and resolution. If you click that little A there, you've got 4 options that come up, and it allows you to do cool settings, 1, 2, 3, and 4. If you're interested in that, you just turn it off and it goes away. Now this here, this is what a lot of people will be using. It allows you to manually adjust the ISO and shutter speed. So on the left, as you turn this up and down, it is an ISO shutter speed reciprocal. So it'll change them both at the same time. Now, let's say I want 148 and I want to lock that in. You just click on 148, it locks it when it goes red, and now I can change the ISO by itself. So I can do 1/48 and keep the ISO at whatever I want. Or I unlock it, and now, as you can see, ISO/shutter reciprocal. So you go up and down. Then you can basically swipe here and it'll give you high ISO bias, low, medium, just as quick settings. Then on the right is your focus that you can adjust as well, like an SLR, and your manual zoom if you want it that way. But I'll keep it there. So there's your main settings that you're going to be changing in terms of the shutter and ISO, and also the manual focus, which is really cool as well. This in the bottom left is the part of the app that only comes with the cinematography kit, which is an in-app purchase. So it won't come with the app by itself, even though you paid for it. It's an extra in-app purchase, unfortunately. So here is your white balance. Now you can click auto white balance and lock it, or you can basically adjust this and it'll change all your levels, as you can see. And here is your different modes: sun, cloud, light, A, B, and then auto white balance. Here, if you're into this, is your natural dynamic, flat, and log V2. And you can also adjust it here as well if you're keen on this. It actually makes a lot of help for those that are really keen on this sort of thing. Here's your shadow and your highlight, and you can reset it. And down here is your saturation and vibrance. So a lot of settings that you can play with, as well as your RGB that you can adjust as well, and your vibrance. I will reset it. So that's with the cinematography kit. I'm just gonna pause for a sec as I face outside. So now I'm just looking outside, and I'll do some of the colors again for you. You can basically change your highlight and your shadow. Here, if we want a bit more vibrance, to see how things are going greener. If you want less vibrance, it's going much more gray. Your saturation, and just reset. And then we can do, that is your light. Let's say we want sun. You can see the sun there, or we can go to auto white balance, or we can adjust it as we please. Now, if we want to reset it, just go to auto white balance. And again, we're back here. We can do the shadow again, the highlight, adjust however way we please, and either keep it there, or we can go back and reset it. Even go to flat if we want it to be flat, or if we want dynamic, which will help with outside videos. So there is my first impressions of this. It is quite intuitive. I like all the settings here. It's easy, the presets are really good. It's easy to change resolution and frame rate, and I love that you can change the aspect ratio, which is great, especially if you're doing 1:1. If you want to make content for social media, Instagram, that's easy to do that. It is really intuitive to use. I'm going to keep it at 16:9 because that's standard. Different qualities as well. I've tested the storage space for each of these, and economy, Apple standard, it generally is a lot more than your stock iPhone app. So have a lot of storage handy and just transfer it to your computer and then repeat. And FiLMiC Extreme. So it just improves the bit rate, starting from about 25 megabits per second up to the Extreme, which is upwards of almost 75 to 100 megabits per second. So it'll be the highest quality, but it will use the most amount of space. I'll just keep it as that. I'll do FiLMiC Extreme. Now, it does have a lot of options that you can use. I love the manual, the ability to manually focus and also to change the ISO and shutter speed, which you can't do in the native camera app. The cinematography kit, I would recommend just by using it for a little bit for those that are a bit more avid and are keen to change the colors around, especially in different lighting situations. It's good to have that. The only downside is that you do have to pay extra for it. Now the mic is great for the amount of options that you can do because it also gives you a reading on the side, and most mics will work if you have the right adapters and you can see which one it is if you go into audio, and you don't have to use a different device for your audio if you don't want to. But because I have an external mic with me, I thought I would use that for this. And the other options that you've got are your different displays here, which are funky, and of course you can view. The other thing is when you record, it'd be good to take photos as well for those rare incidents that you do. But overall, my first impressions of it are pretty good. I would have been using it over the native app. One of the main reasons, if you want to use another mic, even in the native app, you can't even see which one you're using, which mic is going. You can even choose whether you want the front or the back, but I would keep the stereo because when you use the back and the front, it's mono. So, and Bluetooth mics as well. If you do want to use a different mic, this app is the way to go. If you want to use 24 frames per second or 2K or 3K and change your aspect ratios, this app is the way to go. If those are the main things that you need, then it's worth it to buy the app itself. And if you do want to change the colors, then the cinematography kit is good. So there is our video, our first impressions of the FiLMiC app. We've been enjoying it. We're going to start using it a little more and see how it goes on an iPhone XS and then maybe with some newer 11s, 12s and so on, and see how it works. Thanks for watching. I hope this was of some help. Stay tuned for more videos as we review cool tech products and software as well, which we are testing out like today. And don't forget to subscribe to our motoring channel, Talking Talk, which we just do cool things with cars. So stay tuned for more videos on this channel and the motoring channel, and thank you for watching.